Hi guys, I'm back from hibernation. I've decided to switch things up and make a music video, like where I talk about music. I would never record myself dancing. So today I'm going to start ranking music discographies. I'll call it the Duel of the Discography. That makes no sense, but whatever. And why not start with a pretty popular name? Maroon 5. Maroon 5 is a pop rock band that's been around for almost 2 decades and used to have 5 members. What is it, like 7 now? Most people recognize the singer Adam Levine from this band, but there's also, He's a guy with long hair. Anyway, Maroon 5 has made 7 studio albums since their debut in the early 2000s. They're well known for their early songs like This Love and She Will Be Loved, as well as their later songs such as Sugar and Animals. So I'm going to rank their 7 albums from worst to best, and also rate them each on a scale out of 10. The ranking is probably going to be from newest to oldest, since I haven't really, in recent years, made music that's good. Anyway, let's start with JORDI is Maroon 5's most recent album, released in June of 2021. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but I genuinely cannot find anything commendable about this. Don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing offensive about JORDI at all. Well, there's one I'll get to in a moment. There are even some points where it actually seems like the band's trying to some extent, but it's just so bland. Every song on here meshes horribly. The lyrics are extremely simple and forgettable stories about love and romance. Production that has some potential credibility isn't even done by the band, and Levine sounds as old and awful as expected. Any attempt at innovating and coming up with ideas is just horrible. I imagine someone in the studio like,
Echo.
What really bothers me about this record is the fact that there's 2 appearances from posthumous artists, those being Nipsey Hussle and Juice WRLD. And it is so obvious that these are cash grabs. The features are only there so they can get some extra streams. It's kind of sad how a band like this, once so beloved, has descended into making this. I blame Adam Levine's ego. And yes, I know a lot of parts of the album, such as the title and the track Memories, are about Levine's friend and manager, Jordan Feldstein, who passed away in late 2017. And my heart goes out to him who didn't deserve to leave us. But honestly, that just makes it even worse to me, to know that this tribute is so awful. Even the song directly honoring him, Memories, has extremely loathsome, baby-like vocals from Levine. I wasn't expecting anything of quality here, especially after hearing the singles, but this is just bottom of the barrel bad. I'm not joking when I give this a 0 out of 10. The only song I think could have been decent, if not ruined by the awful vocals or boring songwriting, is Nobody's Love, which has some alright production. If only it wasn't overshadowed by this heap of garbage.
You tell me I don't care, tell me I never tried.
This is Red Pill Blues, the band's 6th studio album, released in November 2017, and this is not much better. Okay, before I say anything else, I just need to point one thing out. What is this cover? Are those Snapchat filters? What were they thinking? Anyway, back to the review. This album is the point where Maroon 5 lost all effort and started putting out cash grab after cash grab after cash grab after cash grab after cash, and where Levine's ego went through the roof. The 6th proof. Most of Red Pill Blues is just effortless 3-minute songs. Why is it so long, you might ask? Because for some reason, there's an 11-minute track that's just... Besides that one song that sticks out like the sorest of thumbs, this record is just boring, low-effort music. There's nothing memorable about this. It's so clear that the band is playing far from their potential, which really sucks. What makes this so forgettable is the fact that older albums, even if not that good, had some genuinely great songs. This just doesn't. Now, I don't put this lower than JORDI because there are a few tracks that are okay. The opener, Best For You, has some really nice production.
I just want the best for you. I just want the best for you.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I honestly think Girls Like You is not that bad.
Girls like you run around with guys like me till sundown when I come.
But overall, Red Pill Blues is still pretty bland. Maroon 5 is well past making good music on this one.
But I wonder where we are when I was at my worst now.
To honor the 5th LP release of Maroon 5, the band called it... Wait, what would you call it? 5 or V? I'll just call it V because it's funnier. Now, how do I describe my feelings on this album? Oh, I'll mimic my initial.
Meh.
This album is okay. Maroon 5, who has now started their permanent major cash grab phase, released V in August of 2014. But the biggest thing that sets this apart from Red Pill Blues, as well as the reason why I set this higher than that, is the fact that there are some songs that are actually great. You can really tell the amount of effort put in on the few good tracks V has. There are a couple of standouts that I might even consider some of their best songs. But unfortunately, most of the other songs on V are extremely lackluster. Sure, there aren't many awful tracks, but it's still mostly boring filler music. That's all I really have to say about V. It's just so unadventurous and boring, besides a few exceptions. But like I said earlier, there are some really good songs here. The opener, Maps, is a well-crafted song showing Maroon 5 playing to the minimal strengths they have, as well as having excellent songwriting.
So I'm following the map that leads to you. The map that leads to you.
Although this song wasn't as popular as Maps was, It Was Always You is probably one of my favorite Maroon 5 songs.
It was always you. Can't believe I could not see it.
I feel pretty indifferent to this album as a whole, so I'm just going to place it right in the middle.
Put your hands all over. Put your hands all over me.
So this and the next ranking is the only time the list won't be from newest to oldest, because Hands All Over is Maroon 5's 3rd studio album. From now on, I actually like these more than I dislike them. Hands All Over, released September of 2010, showed Maroon 5 starting to dip their feet in filler songs. This record is a bit less memorable than others because the production style on tracks started to overly blend and become kind of indistinguishable. This album suffered the most from performance, mainly sales. They had to keep re-releasing the album to add more tracks. There isn't much to say about this album either. It's just like Red Pill Blues, but the songs are better. There's nothing groundbreaking really, but most of the songs aren't bad. But there are some great tracks, of course. Give a Little More is another one of my favorite Maroon 5 songs.
And then I give a little more. Ooh, babe.
Get Back in My Life is also a really groovy track.
Get back in my life. Come knock on my door.
And Moves Like Jagger is slightly underrated in my opinion. It's really nice to listen to.
You want the moves like Jagger. I've got the moves like Jagger. I've got the moves.
Hands All Over is probably one of the least memorable or recognizable LPs in their discography, but it has a decent amount of good tracks.
You and I go hard at each other like we're going to.
Overexposed is Maroon 5's 4th studio album, released June 2012. I would say at this point onwards, the albums talked about are generally, at the least, good. Overexposed was released earlier than the time Maroon 5 usually takes in between albums. This was released only 2 years after the release of Hands All Over. They only did this because Hands All Over underperformed in sales, selling only about 142,000 copies, compared to their sophomore album, which sold 429,000 copies. And once you listen to this album a few times, you can pretty easily tell the extra effort put into the project. Now, don't get me wrong, there is still a lot of shortcuts taken, because, you know, the Maroon 5, and there are still some uninteresting filler tracks, but this just seems like a Hands All Over that's more polished. Not to mention the fact that there are even more huge hits and even more great songs than Overexposed. This album has several popular songs such as One More Night, Payphone, Daylight, and Love Somebody. None of these songs are really bad. Of course, there's the middle of the album where we encounter the mostly lifeless tracks as well as the songs with questionable decisions. And they still made a cheap 3 extra track deluxe combo for that sweet sale boost. But if you can look past the Maroon 5 moments in Overexposed, you can walk away with a decently solid album. My favorites were One More Night, which is a huge earworm, albeit not a bad one.
Cross my heart and I hope to die.
Some people don't like Payphone, but honestly, I think it's great.
I'm at a payphone trying to go home.
For a non-hit favorite, I think Do and Dirt has a nice instrumental. Overexposed has a handful of high points, making for a solid and resilient record. It Won't Be Soon Before Long is Maroon 5's sophomore album. What does that title even mean? I've got to figure this out. So get rid of the won't and change the soon to its opposite. It will be long before long.
No way.
By the time Maroon 5 released their sophomore album, they were a well-known name. The band waited a few years for their debut album to gain popularity, and after it did, they eventually released their second one, which is this. Don't let the cash grab nature and not-so-good albums of this band make you think this LP is a mediocre nuisance. It Won't Be Soon Before Long is actually a really solid follow-up to Maroon 5's debut. Compared to their other works, this album isn't very popular, having only 2 songs with at least 100 million streams. But I can definitely say that this is good. It Won't Be Soon Before Long is an extremely mature album, and most tracks are well structured and thought out. And although it's far from perfect, as well as there definitely being some bad songs, those bad songs aren't bad because...
What should I write for this song? Wake up, cash, caught you in the morning with some money in my bed.
They're only bad because the band tried a different style and it didn't work too well. Failed experiments, pretty much. But even then, this is infinitely more commendable than JORDI or Red Pill Blues. And my favorite tracks, Nothing Lasts Forever. It reminds me of something. I don't know what, but it's great.
Every day, with everyone desperate, we can...
The track Can't Stop, it's the instrumental, man. It's awesome. Kiwi is a much more sexual and groovy cut on the LP, which isn't bad at all, but what I love the most about it is its light build-up to a great third verse.
I can't wait to take you home, fingers through your hair, kisses on your...
As a whole, It Won't Be Soon Before Long is an underlooked album with some of Maroon 5's best songs. I highly recommend listening to this and...
Is there really one out there? 'Cause it's getting harder and harder to breathe.
Maroon 5's debut album, Songs About Jane, was released in June of 2002. And this is the pinnacle of their music. This is the time where the band had full motivation to just make a record. There was no cash grab mindset here. It was just the band wanting to get a start to their career. That's what makes this music so good. Almost every track here shows Maroon 5 making good, adventurous choices, but unlike the Maroon 5 now, their choices are within their capability. They can go from one good song like the popular This Love to a just as good track like Secret. They can remain so consistently solid in their performances here, which is great. And just so you know, I don't think this is one of the greatest albums of all time, or even of 2002. There are still low points here. A few deep cuts seem really bland, but like I said before, they're not cash grabs or even filler, but just failed experiments. This and their sophomore release I highly recommend checking out in full if you haven't already. I know I've said this multiple times already, but it's just sad to think that Maroon 5 used to be, well, good. The band was great at controlling the lead's ego. My 2 favorites from Songs About Jane are the 2 final tracks. Not Coming Home is a great pop rock tune.
When you answer the door, pick up the phone, you won't find me 'cause I'm not coming home.
It's the same thing with Sweetest Goodbye. The mix of the moods and the lyrics and the instrumental is really nice.
Pushing forward and arching back.
Songs About Jane is definitely Maroon 5's best work and hopefully doesn't get forgotten under the band's recent reputation.
And I have no choice, 'cause I won't say goodbye anymore.
So here's the final list. The average rating for Maroon 5's career is a 5 out of 10. Fitting. Judging from the fact that their albums pretty much got chronologically worse, I don't expect anything good from Maroon 5 in the future. We'll just have to keep the memories of their good music. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you have any differing opinion, then tell me. Goodbye.